Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. I'm your host, Dylan, along with my cousin and co-host.
Gab.
And today we are talking about a 1986 comedic classic, in my opinion, Ruthless People. So, Gab, you had never seen this. Had you ever heard of it before?
No, I hadn't. And honestly, I was pretty surprised that I had never heard of it because Danny DeVito and Bette Midler.
And you know what's funny? The person who showed me this movie was my grandma, and I don't normally think of her as like the person who showed me all those comedies growing up. She
Yeah.
showed me stuff like E.T., Shane, and most famously in my family, she showed me the movie Congo when me and my brother were far too young for it, and we thought it was a nice monkey movie, and they started murdering a lot of people, and
Oh
that was not
boy.
nice.
Yeah. Um, Schindler's List? No?
I don't think so.
Huh. Seems like a very typical Jewish grandmother movie to make you watch. You know, our other grandma. So the obviously our grandma. How do I say this? The grandma that's
Our
also
shared
my grandma.
grandma.
Our shared grandma. Thank you. Because Grandma Doris growing up was I didn't know she wasn't really my grandma. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know how that worked, that it was like the other side of the family,
Yeah, you
your
saw
other side of
plenty
the
of
family.
her.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought she was my grandma. But our biological shared grandma was a big Fiddler on the Roof gal. That was like the Jewish grandmother VHS
I
tape
was gonna say,
of
as
my
most
day.
Jewish grandmas are.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We watched a lot of Fiddler on the Roof. But Grandma Doris makes me think of Schindler's List. And I don't know if that's a compliment, but it's the truth.
seems like you think of her as a real downer.
I mean, you know.
Don't get me wrong, we all love Schindler's List, but it's not like a good time flick I throw on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It all of this to say nobody thinks of Grandma Doris as being like slinging comedies, you know?
Ironically, this movie kind of has something in common with Schindler's List because Judge Reinhold, who is one of the kidnappers in the movie, not Sandy, Kenny, is also the close talker in the Seinfeld episode where Jerry is making out in the middle of Schindler's List.
What a tie. That is poetic. Truly.
But now, Gab, to put you on the spot, why don't you tell me what the hell Ruthless People is about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
Oh, all right. Well, listener, you should know we talked about this offline before we started recording, but due to personal circumstances, I haven't seen this movie in 2 weeks. So I will do my best.
Yes, before we started, Gab said, what is this called again?
I was like, miserable people, angry people. What is this called? Ruthless people. Yes. Okay. So this movie is about a very wealthy man who absolutely cannot stand his wife. And in an attempt to finally be rid of her by hiring a hitman, he somehow finds himself in the middle of a legitimate kidnapping, which he is super excited about and has to sort of play along with without actually intending to get his wife back.
Semi-close, one crucial detail off there, and obviously we're going to spoil the whole lot of this.
Yes.
He doesn't hire a hitman. He has every intention of he's talking to his mistress about the fact that he's going to kill his wife tonight. He's going to take care of it, get it done. And the moment he gets home, he realizes his wife has actually been legitimately kidnapped.
Yes.
So let's read the IMDb plot summary. A couple cheated by a vile businessman. I feel like I put a comma in there where there was none. A couple that has been cheated by a vile businessman kidnaps his wife in retaliation, not knowing that their enemy is delighted that they did.
So okay, important to note that IMDb plot summary comes from the perspective of the kidnappers. So the people who kidnap this man's wife are a couple who are looking to retaliate against the man because he stole their business idea. So we do know the kidnappers. They are not evil. They would like to be evil. The plot that they have come up with is an attempt to be evil, but they're actually nice people who are really just desperate and looking for a way to get money for this idea that they had that was stolen by the very wealthy man, played by Danny DeVito, and they wind up kidnapping her and actually treating her pretty well.
Yeah.
And the husband is absolutely not interested in getting her back. So they're sort of in a position where they've got this hostage that they don't really want, who they have no way of getting rid of because the person they're trying to bribe doesn't want her back. And as we get to know her a little better, we start to understand why.
Yes, ruthless people applies to sort of everybody in the movie. And for our kidnappers, what it is they're people who are trying to be ruthless and who actually are not. And there's a great scene which illustrates it, which I know we have to get to our taglines, but Kenny, who is one of the kidnappers, is talking about we have to be ruthless. We're desperate people. We have to do whatever it takes. And as he's doing this, he is gently putting a spider on a piece of paper so he can politely carry it out the door. And he
Yes.
realizes what he's doing as he's doing it. And he goes and he stomps on the spider because they are trying to do something that is not within their nature. Meanwhile, you have someone like Sam Stone, played by Danny DeVito, who is utterly disgustingly ruthless.
Yeah.
But we're getting near opinions, so I should first give you some taglines.
Please do.
Barbara Stone has just been kidnapped by Kmart, and what she doesn't know won't hurt her.
Okay, funny. If you only funny in the context of the movie.
Oh God, the dog has just laid a nasty fart next to me. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna move past it. I'm gonna power
Dylan,
through.
stop trying to blame the dog, okay?
Hey, if it was me, I'd own it. Anyone who knows me personally knows I own every one of my
That is
parts.
true. That's true.
Oh man. Okay. The Big Screw. I don't think that's a good one.
I don't think that's good either.
A tale of two kidnappers who wanted to be merciless but turned out to be hopeless.
To me, I don't really love the way that they continue to frame this as though the kidnappers are the main characters. To me, Danny DeVito and Bette Midler are the main characters, and the kidnappers are secondary.
I think they're as close to, I would agree with you. They're very close to being main characters. Like the four of them obviously have the most screen time, but I would say that the relationship that is the center of the movie is Danny DeVito and Bette Midler as Sam and Barbara Stone.
Yeah. I'm going to take my sweatshirt off. I'm very hot. Please
Dog
bear with
farts
me.
and overheating. We're really powering through it on this one. I'm going to read you the very last tagline here, which does put things more in the perspective that you're looking for. Sam Stone's wife has just been kidnapped. ... And he doesn't want her back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw that one, I think. I think that was I don't know where I saw it, but it's like a little too on the nose for me. Like, yeah, that's literally what the movie is about. And it's like you're giving away the best gag, you know? And I know that it
Yeah.
probably was given away in the trailer. Like, that's a big selling point of the movie. But like, God damn, I wish they were just like a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, oh, like I wish they had more finesse, you know?
There's a better tagline in here somewhere. They didn't hit the mark on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we get into our opinion?
I'm bursting at the seams.
In this critic's opinion,
That's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
What I love about this movie is it is just a movie that is entirely about misunderstandings, and every one of them is hilarious.
Yes, agreed.
One of my favorite misunderstandings of the whole movie, and it's such a subplot at some point, is Sam, Danny DeVito, he's planning on killing his wife. You have an initial layer of miscommunication where his mistress is under the belief that he did kill his wife. His mistress has a boyfriend who went and recorded what he thinks is Sam killing his wife. What he actually recorded was the chief of police cheating on his wife. The mistress never watches the tape recording. They send it to the chief of police and are talking to the chief of police saying how they want Sam arrested for this. And the chief of police is so utterly confused the entire time. And he just has so many aw shucks moments. Like he's not at all an important character in the movie. But the mistress is saying things like, aren't you sickened by what you see on that tape? And like the chief of police is just going, it's just a man trying to have a good time. People do it every day. And it's the miscommunication of her thinking that he's talking about murder, him thinking that she's talking about him cheating on his wife. And every scene has at least one layer of miscommunication and something going on underneath it in addition. You know what I mean? It's very much the definition of yes and.
Yes. There's a famous playwright, and I'm sure there are more than one. And actually, the one that's coming to mind, if I'm honest with you, is Woody Allen, who does a really good job of these like miscommunication, like comedy of errors style. And I don't know if you saw this or if you would have any recollection of this, and I'd have to look up who wrote it. Although the name coming to mind is Ken Ludwig. I'd be interested to see if I'm correct. I did a play called Moon Over Buffalo. Do you recall this?
It sounds really familiar. It is by Ken Ludwig.
Thank you. I'm nothing if not thorough. But Moon Over Buffalo was a show that I won an award for it actually, if I remember correctly. Not that it matters. But I played a character who was a like big time theater star. My husband and I were like incredible actors, and we were doing a show, and it was like a big comedy of errors, and the culminating scene was sort of, there are all these doors on the set, and one person goes in a door and then somebody comes out the other door, and they can't seem to be in the room at the same time, and everyone is coming in and out, doors are opening and closing, and it's all timing, and it's all like just missing each other after a second. And this really reminds me of like a film version of that, where if one little thing had been communicated better, there would be no plot. But it's so perfect because these miscommunications just continue to just give joke after joke after joke.
Exactly. And also what you're describing sounded a lot to me like those chase scenes that they would have in Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Like the characters keep opening the door, but the last person just closed another door, and then eventually they run right past each other and they don't even realize it, that type of thing.
Yes. That's exactly what it was. And they're super fun to choreograph, but it was it's this same thing of like, if you would just wait a split second, it would all be over. But it's so great. What else do you have for me?
Another compliment I want to give this movie, and it's something that you and I are very consistent on. Brevity is a good thing, and this movie is tight.
Yes.
So tight that I even thought to myself, it would have been nice if we had one scene between Danny DeVito and Bette Midler together where we see before he's going to kill her, before she's been kidnapped, how much he dislikes her. And I imagine that maybe they even filmed something like that, and they were like, you know what? Fuck it. We can start
We don't even need it
into this.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the first scene is him talking to the mistress, and then he comes home and she's already gone.
Yeah. You don't really ever see them together until after.
Yes, and the movie is the movie's primary goal is laughter.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that even story is kind of secondary. But what it does a very good job of is it'll insert one or two lines that let you know that's enough motivation. I know exactly what they are talking about.
Yeah.
Kenny and Sandy, who are kidnappers who are trying to be ruthless, he has a line where he says he takes our money, steals your idea, goes out and makes $1 million, and you feel guilty. And it lets you understand who they are as people, that they trusted this guy in a handshake deal. They got screwed. They were naive. They're not cutthroat business people. She still feels badly about it. You know what I mean? And that one line during this 90-minute movie was enough that I was like, okay, I get why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, totally. May I?
You may.
One of the things that I really loved about this movie was the dogs. So Danny DeVito's wife has this poodle. I cannot think of the poodle's name.
It's something really stupid, and he never calls it. He almost Muffy.
Muffy, yes.
Because I have written down Danny DeVito going, Muffy, you've taken your last piss on my rug.
Yeah. Muffy is this poodle, quintessential white poodle, small with the shaved, the little pom-poms and whatnot. And he hates this dog. And at one point, he gets another dog. He gets a Doberman.
I think it's a big ass Doberman. Yeah.
Yeah. To eat Muffy. And he buys this gigantic, scary Doberman and names it Adolf.
Yes. Muffy meet Adolf. Adolf eat Muffy is what he says.
Yes. It's so funny. And that really got me good. On a totally different note, there are two things. They're semi-related, but there are two things that really were like a punch to the gut for me about this movie.
And like, when you say a punch to the gut, do you mean that like it upset you with things you didn't like about the movie, or are you saying things that like touched you by the movie? Things that you were touched?
Neither.
In what way were you punched?
Physically? When you're just you're just like, yes, I was assaulted. You know, when you're just like overwhelmed with nostalgia and it have you ever smelled something that you haven't smelled in like 20 years and it just like fucking hits you and you're like, oh my God.
I'm guessing one of these gut punches is when he walks into his house for the first time and it's the style of the house.
Yes. But do you know why it got me that way?
I think I can guess why, but I'll let you go ahead.
No, no, no. I want you to guess.
Did it remind you of my house growing up?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, my house
Yes.
was not as nice or as big, but my mom has a very unique aesthetic of interior decor, and it kind of fits with what's going on in this movie. And I think I'd seen somewhere that there was like an actual term for what it's called, but I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
It's like it's if you were living in the 80s, it would be considered modern, I think. Like very modern, but now it's dated because it was modern in the 80s.
It's called Memphis style,
Oh,
is like the name
that's
of the type that it is, but that really means nothing to me. Like, but yes, I saw this movie, and obviously it's, I didn't grow up in like a fucking multi-million dollar mansion.
no, no, no.
But I got it, where the moment that I was watching this movie, it hit me too a little bit.
It was like I was like, I've been in this house before. And obviously, again, you did not grow up in these people are very wealthy. This was a mansion. But I was like, this is what Dylan's childhood home looked like. Like, no question. Down to the bedroom furniture, like I was like, oh my God. So that was number one. But then number two, Dylan, coming in hot at number two. Do you want to guess a similar punch to the gut that I felt from this film?
Oh, I don't know if I can.
Let's talk about Bette Midler's character.
Okay.
Who does she remind you of, Dylan?
Who does she remind you of, Gab?
Who does she remind you of, Dylan?
I'm not sure who you're about to say. Are you about to say who I think you're about to say?
Definitely.
My mother?
Yes. And listen, I love your mother. This is not personal, but the first of all, she has very big, voluminous red hair, does she not?
She does.
She does.
Guilty. Your
Number
Honor.
two, she is a loud and in your face, like just over the top personality. Is she not?
Guilty, Your Honor. If you're in a restaurant, you will notice my mom is there because you will hear that laugh.
You will hear it. You will see it. There is absolutely no subtlety. There is no subtlety. And lastly, what does she do with all her free time, Dylan?
She's a bit of a workout nut.
Bit of a workout nut, is she not?
It's
So
either snacking or
therefore-
working out. The working out is
I-
to supply the snack.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is my Aunt Carrie. It's her. It's her. Like I know this person. I'm familiar with this person. I have spent many, many years of my life with this person. I could not believe it. I was like watching old home movies.
Honestly, now that you put that in my head, it feels even more similar because now that she and my dad are not together anymore, every rant she has at the end is recontextualized to me when she's talking about we should castrate him, take his nuts. And
Yes.
she's doing the hand version of it, which I can't do in front of you, but she's pretending to do scissors and throw them over her shoulder.
Oh my God. And it was like, at the, no, I think I'd like to insult him. Your dad and Danny DeVito, not super dissimilar.
Yeah, my dad's a little bit taller, but he is also
Only a little bit.
a bald, short businessman. Yes.
Yes. I mean, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't fucking believe it. And then at the end, when she's like, we should fucking kill him, I was like, this is historical fiction.
It would also be one for one that I feel like my mom would know like what's worthwhile that he has too.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. 100%. And would absolutely plot as best she could to have her just desserts. I was like, I thought for sure that was why you were showing me this movie, so we could talk about how it came true. I couldn't believe it.
No, it never crossed my mind, to be honest, because this movie makes me think of my grandma, as I said. But I 1000% see why you had both of those thoughts.
Thank you. And I gotta be honest with you, that's about the extent of my thoughts.
Really? In a good way or a bad way? Did you find the movie funny?
Oh, I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very funny. I was really into it the whole time. I really enjoyed it. But I think what this movie has working for it, it also has working against it. So
Interesting.
it's a very silly, fluffy, quick 90 minutes. It's got some laughs. It's got some pretty obvious, like there's nothing about it that makes you go like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that happened." It's pretty predictable. It's got a few
You
sight
think?
gags. Yeah, I mean,
Because I think it's obviously it's predictable in the sense of like who's coming out on top, but I think it's unpredictable in the sense of how things unfold because you get to a certain point where you're like, well, how in the world are they getting out of this? You know what I mean?
yeah, I suppose, but I think you know that in the end she's going to end up befriending the kidnappers because they can't get rid of her any other way and they're going to need her to get out of it. And you know that Danny DeVito is going to get screwed and like I just think it, zoom out, it's pretty predictable.
I think that's fair. I don't think it's trying to reinvent the wheel with its story. It's trying to make you laugh. And
Yeah, and that's
I
fine.
I do think it's great. The reason for them to get over their differences is that Bette Midler has been assaulting them with whatever food she provides, and she's been doing these workouts on the TV in their basement. And Bette Midler finds out at some point that she's lost 20 or 25 pounds while she's been there. And at the same time, Sandy, who is the kidnapper, who realized that she had been cheated by her husband Sam, explains to her, that she's a clothing designer and they form this friendship and realize, that they can help each other out. And there's a great moment where Kenny comes back and Sandy goes, "You don't need to. She's not there." And he's like, "What do you mean she's not there? I let her go." "What do you mean you let her go? You didn't just let her walk out the door, did you?" "She walked right out the door." Like it's just the back and forth that works. Um, there's also there's one background joke I want to talk about because I talked about the chief of police, how that's like a little aside that is in no way needed for the movie, but is great. Can we talk about the bedroom killer or the bedroom murderer or whatever he's called?
Yes. Yeah.
Clearly a play on like Night Stalkery type of killers, but like in the background of this movie, they keep mentioning the bedroom killer. And once in a while, the police are coming by with like a sketch of like, "If you have any information about the bedroom killer, please call us." And at some point, the bedroom killer, they literally say, "He's been showing up right in this neighborhood to the kidnappers." And they're like, "We'll keep an eye out for him," because they think the police are there for them. The bedroom killer comes in and looks at who is it he sees first? Bette Midler. And he goes, "You remind me of my mother. I hate my mother." Then he goes up to Sandy and to Kenny and goes, "You remind me of my father. I hate my father." And for some reason, this has stuck with me for like 20 years since I last saw this movie. They get him killed by throwing him down the stairs. And Bette Midler holds up his head and she goes, "Said I reminded him of his mother. He hates his mother. Said you reminded him of his father. He hates his father. So I guess if we had a child, this is what it would look like. Good reason for birth control." You know what I mean? It's just like Bette Midler, her delivery is so fucking good in this movie,
So good.
which when we get to the facts, I have like a couple things that I have to tell you about that I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with us back then? Because there is some shit with Bette Midler that is wild. But
Oh
we'll
my
get
God.
there.
Okay.
It was hard to find background. Once you get past like 1995, I feel like my research is like I'm unable to find anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, it just, it was a very different time.
There's another moment that it reminds me of Zach was we've talked about before. Zach used to be a car salesman.
Mhm.
And he's sort of like he's really good for knowing about negotiations. Like if I need somebody to negotiate on my behalf, it would probably be Zach. And he's always told me whoever says the number first loses. There's a
Hmm.
moment that like makes me think of him in this movie, but it's just Danny DeVito being a total douchebag. Danny DeVito is talking to one of the cops, giving him advice about business, and this is while he's waiting for a ransom call for his wife that he
Yes.
does not want back. And he's telling the cop, "A bad salesman will automatically drop his price. Bad salesmen make me sick." And he gets on the phone with Judge Reinhold, who is Kenny, and he goes, "Where were you, Mr. Stone? We were expecting $500,000." And he tells him he doesn't have it. Like he just, because he doesn't care if his wife dies or not, he's just haggling with them. And he's just like, "I don't have it." And he goes, "Well, could you have $50,000? And there's this moment where he puts the phone to his chest and he goes, "You make me sick." And it's just a callback to him a second ago talking about it. I don't know, man. You just have great comedic talent here. Danny
Yeah.
DeVito and Bette Midler are so good as, comedic timing wise and delivery wise. And I think on the other side, Judge Reinhold is so good at being a comedic straight man.
What else? Well, I guess we'll get into this in the facts, but this name, Judge Reinhold, it's ringing a bell, Dylan.
I mean, do you want me to name some things you've probably seen him in?
No, there's a time for that.
Okay, so I'll leave you in mystery for now.
Yes, please.
We also have to mention Bill Pullman in this movie as possibly the dumbest person in the world.
Oh, the boyfriend. Yeah.
Yes, and it's a very small part. But again, it leads to one of my favorite lines in the movie where he and the mistress find out that the ransom drop is going down. And by this point, Sam actually needs the ransom to happen because he is going to go to jail because of the blackmailing of the chief of police, unless he can prove his wife has not been killed and she's actually alive. So he's going to do the ransom drop. He thinks the cops are not coming by this point, but the cops do show up. And after the cops have already shown up and shown themselves that they are in on this, out of nowhere, Bill Pullman comes up and tries to rob the kidnapper of the ransom money.
Yeah.
And he's just so stupid that the chief of police, not the chief of police, but two of the policemen are up on the roof and they're talking to each other. And he goes, "This may be the dumbest man on the face of the planet." And there's a moment of silence and he just goes, "Perhaps we should shoot him." Again, it's just like, I don't know who that guy is, but it's a great delivery. And he is such a delightfully stupid character. And I think there's such a talent to playing so stupid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's the same way that it's really easy to play a bad drunk and it's really hard to be good at playing drunk, I think.
I think, the interesting thing is like when you're in acting school, they teach you that if you are playing somebody who's drunk, right? Drunk people, what are they always trying to do? They're always trying to appear sober.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with stupidity. Playing a even comedic role of someone who is not very intelligent, you can't give in to the stupidity, right? It's like, I'm thinking of a line from Tropic Thunder. You have to try to be, you don't know that you're stupid and you're trying to be smart like everybody else. And that's where the comedy is.
Well, in this movie, it's like Bill Pullman saying, he's trying to confidently affirm the plan. And he goes, "And then it's off to Haiti." And she goes, "Tahiti."
Yes. It's so good.
It's thinking you know what you're talking about when you don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And being very confident. One of my favorite things in the world is when people, typically stupid people, right, have this very unfounded confidence. I know a guy who will look you in the eye and tell you something that is absolutely fucking bananas incorrect. Like he'll look at you and be like, "Well, people say the sky is blue, but actually research has shown that the sky is purple and we just interpret it as blue." And it's like, what? Like, and you can tell he's making it up, but he's so confident that it's like, I can see why people would believe you, but only people dumber than you.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that in this character.
Yes, exactly.
I will also mention just another thing that I like where they're not pointing it out to you, but it's just something that works, is the fact that the character Kenny actually is also a businessman. He's just clearly doesn't have the personality for it. And he's a stereo salesman. And there's a great moment where it's not really a moment of comedy, where he is, he's just found out that basically he's not going to get paid by Sam. He's probably going to jail and he wants to be ruthless and screw somebody the fuck over. Earlier in the movie, he had convinced somebody not to buy these monstrous Dominator stereos because they're not actually that good. They're overpriced. And he said, he was like, most people who actually want to buy these things are making up for somewhere else where they're lacking, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then this young kid comes in and he's like trying to convince him to buy the Dominator. And he pulls out the classic salesman line of like, "I have a pair of these myself," and he's trying to convince him. And the kid says, "I finally feel like I've met a salesman I can trust," as his very pregnant girlfriend walks in.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see him immediately, like the kindness of the character returns immediately as he stops them and explains to them, "Let me show you something that, Reader Digest just called this a great value." You know what I mean? And this movie does a really good job of, without spelling it out to you, having moments where the characters reveal themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way that is not super heavy-handed. Like there's never a moment where Danny DeVito winds up not being so bad. It's like, no, he is a scumbag and he's a
In every
scumbag the whole
situation.
time. And so it's not like everyone is redeemed by the end of this movie. It's just that these people who are really trying to be evil are really not. And it's like it allows you to be really invested in their success, even though their success is like not great. Whereas if Danny DeVito were proven to not be so bad, it would be like, well, now, there's nobody like to clearly root for,
Yes, it there's not a lot of gray here. It's very black and white, but it's not
Yes.
always punching you in the face with it. I don't think. I think the most iconic quote out of this movie is definitely, or at least it's what I saw in every commercial or interview. It's the clip they were playing. Is Barbara trying to understand her situation, and she's talking to Sandy about the fact that she'll be released as soon as the ransom is paid. And she says, "What's the problem? What's the ransom?" And she goes, "It was $500,000. Well, that shouldn't be a problem." He complained. He complained. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, it's this great repeating but questioning. Then we dropped our price to $50,000. Yeah. He didn't pay. He didn't pay. It's just that
Yeah.
repetitiveness. So now we're dropping our price again to $10,000. Do I understand this correctly? I'm being marked down. What is this? The bargain basement? And the line that I saw everywhere, and I feel like even the tagline said it, is her crying, going, "I've been kidnapped by Kmart."
It's so good.
Kmart's
And
do
it-
still exist, right? Is that
I
still
don't
somewhat
know.
relevant?
But I'll tell you what, and maybe you had a different experience because we did do our high school years, like 45 minutes away from one another. But when I was in high school, if you were a real dirtbag, and a lot of people aspire to be dirtbags in high school, but if you were a real dirtbag, you hung out in the Kmart parking lot. And if you were the ultimate dirtbag, as I always like to say, you got railed in the Kmart parking lot.
Oh my God. For us, that was the Burger King. And there was a training place behind the Burger King that we called Burger
yeah.
King University. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it called Whopper College?
Yeah, I just remember BKU was the common
okay.
vernacular. I did look
Sure,
up, by the
sure.
way, there are 12 Kmarts left in the United States. So still
Oh, wow.
going mediocrity.
Yeah. If you have a
Somewhat
Kmart
weekly.
in your town, please write in and let us know.
Do you
There
shop
was
there?
a Kmart.
Are you keeping the 12 Kmarts open, random listener who lives near one?
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
No.
I was going to say, there used to be a Kmart near Penn Station. I did buy a bicycle there once, and then I sold the bicycle, and the guy who bought it for me gave me a fake $100 bill. So the ATM wouldn't accept it. So I took it down into the subway when they used to have these like little stands where you could buy like magazines, and I bought a piece of gum with my fake 100. And then I had a pack of gum, and I had $97.
Sounds like an expensive pack of gum. But if you've gotten a fake $100 bill recently, it's probably because of Gab.
Or Kmart.
Or both.
Fake money used to be a much larger problem. When I waited tables, I would get a lot of fake money.
I feel like it's rare that you get cash at all anymore.
Oh my God. My mom gave me $20 the other day, and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
It's legal tender. It's almost as good as money.
But like, I'm not going to go to the ATM to deposit it. It's only $20. But I'm also like, what do I do? I don't want to have to deal with the transaction when I give somebody $20 and they give me back coins. So now I have this relic in my bag, and I'm like, God, I wish I could I want to give it to somebody. But then I'm like, God, I'd have to see them in person. I can't send you $20 through the phone with this bill.
I do like having cash on hand. Obviously not like a lot of cash because I'm pretty broke myself, but I like, it's always good to have some singles and some fives because sometimes you need to hey, I want to chuck in a buck, you know what I mean? Type of tip at wherever place I'm at for the workers type of thing.
But they
Or-
all have the screens now.
I hate the screens though. I hate
Oh
the
God, they're
screens.
very pushy.
They're too pushy. And it's like, you could give me $1 or you could give me 30%. And I'm like, wait, no. Let's not calculate this. Every
then they
customer
stare
puts
at
in
you.
$1 and then you all split it at the end and
Yeah.
everybody makes some more money that way.
They stare at you and they're like, I just need you to hit the screen. And you can't just casually be like, no tip. Sometimes I go to a place where, they could they like a Starbucks, right? Where they could make your drink, but I'll buy a bottle of water. And I'm like, I'm not tipping you. You didn't even do anything.
There are
But
some
then it's
places I do hit the no tip button authoritatively.
Where?
Recently at the mechanic, they tried to hit me with a tip screen and you're already charging me hundreds of dollars an hour for labor. If you
Yeah.
think that I'm tipping you on top of that, you got another motherfucking thing coming.
Let me ask you this, Dylan. How often do you Uber?
Infrequently, very
Okay.
infrequently.
When you do you tip?
Yeah, always.
I as well, but I do have friends who say they never tip because they're like, it's not mandatory, and I'm like,
It's not mandatory to tip anywhere. That doesn't mean that's not permission to be a scumbag.
Right.
No, that's like if you went to a restaurant and you didn't tip the waiter or waitress because you were like, it's not mandatory. It's this exact same thing.
Exactly. It's like kind of is mandatory. It's like socially mandatory.
It's socially mandatory in this country, at least.
Yeah. But yeah, the tipping thing gets really out of hand. And I think that I have a lot of guilt not tipping. But then there's also like, there's an instance where it'll be like 15%, 20%, 30%. And the 15% will be like 89 cents, right? And the 30% will be like $1.50. And I'm like, God, you really like the $1.50 seems so little, but also like 30%. Jesus fucking Christ.
So it's the fact that there's a number on
this.
there saying the percentage of it that makes you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, it like really kills me. And then there are times when something is so like this is the last I'll say about this, but we get our groceries delivered because in New York City, it's a really big pain in the ass to go to a grocery store and carry things home. We don't have cars to drive into the parking lot.
As my mother would say, it's a lot of schlepping.
It's a schlep. Absolutely. So, and also these grocery stores tend to be really expensive. Like we'll go to the local like Gristedes and one bag of groceries is like $80. It's insane.
What the hell's a Gristedes?
It's a local grocery store that they bend you over backwards and fucking take you for all you're worth. So, we use Fresh Direct. And so they just like, it's a much more affordable. They drop the groceries off the door, but I always tip in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes the guys who bring it to the door are so nice. And I'm like, I already tipped you, right? Like now I have this 20, but I'm like, I don't have anything else. Like, I don't know what.
That 20 is waiting for the best delivery person ever.
Oh my God. I guess so. I just don't know what I'm going to fucking do with it. Oh my God. Have I ever told you the story about the 1-800-GOT-JUNK situation?
No, but I've had an experience with them semi-recently.
Oh my God.
They are relentless. They are ruthless people.
They are ruthless people indeed. So when Corey and I moved into this apartment, we had a couch that I had for my old apartment. Remember my like little green couch? It was a 2-seater.
Yes, I feel like maybe you did tell me about this, but go on.
We were getting rid of this couch. We had gotten a new one. It was coming, the white couch that we have now. So we were getting rid of this little green couch, and I had an ottoman also that we were getting rid of, and some other stuff. And we didn't know like what to do. We don't know the laws about leaving things out on the street. And we had actually gotten in trouble because we left a bag of garbage out on the corner. Because sometimes, like in some neighborhoods, it's okay to leave things out on the street, but we actually live on Broadway, so there are different rules. And we got in trouble because Corey left a bag of garbage outside, and we actually like he did the thing where he like tiptoed like he was in an episode of Scooby-Doo and put it down, looked both ways, and ran. And we laughed. And then apparently they knew it was us because they saw that on the security footage. And so they were like,
Did they send it to you, the video?
No. But they were like, hey, we got a ticket and it's your fault. So we were dying. But we were like, let's not risk it with these big, a couch and whatever else we have to throw away. Let's just call 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So they don't tell you on the website how much it's going to cost. They're just like,
you have to give them your identifying information first.
Yes. And then they give you like an estimate and they're like, yeah, it's going to be like $80. No big deal. Like, just we'll come get it. Like, let us know. We'll come right now. You good right now? We'll come. Okay. Someone's coming. So all of a sudden these people were coming, and they come in and they come up to our apartment and they start walking around in their fucking muddy boots and they're fucking smelling like cigarettes, and they're looking around at the shit, and they're like, all right, we're going to do this for $350. And we were like, what? And they were like, $350. And we were like, never
He was actively
mind.
chain smoking 6 cigarettes as he told me that. And he was like, yeah, we thought it was $80 before, but it turns out It's going to take up more of the truck space than we thought. What are you going
Yeah.
to do about it?
And this is a literal 2-seater couch. Like it is teeny, teeny, tiny. And this ottoman is like nothing. So we were like, never mind. Like it's fine. And then they were like, well, how about we do the couch and we'll do the ottoman for free? So it wound up being like $270 or something like that. And we were sort of in this position where like they're in your living room. Like there is no
They're like, listen, I already know where you live. You should just give me the money.
It's so convenient. They're like, we're here. We can make this thing go away in 3 seconds. All you got to do is say yes. Like, say yes and it's gone. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Where are you going to take it? How are you going to deal with this? So you're in a position where you're just like, fine. So
we should make a reality TV where we gouge people to remove their belongings and call it Say Yes to the Mess.
Oh my God, that's fucking brilliant.
Boom.
Cut this out of the podcast because somebody's going to steal this idea. So finally, we're like, okay, whatever. And because it was our first time using this service, they do that thing where they're like 10% off. So what happened was in order to get us to say yes, he said, we'll throw in the ottoman for free. So it's going to be whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. So the guy calls his boss and he's on the phone and his phone is so loud that I can hear the boss on the other side. And he's like, all right, we're taking it. Like, I'm doing the ottoman for free, blah, 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 blah. And the guy is just like, okay, whatever. Make sure they sign XYZ, whatever. So I was like, hey, I also have a 10% off because this is my first time using you guys. Like, I filled out my information on the website. They gave me 10% off. So the guy goes to his boss. She's got the 10% off. Should I give it to her? And the boss goes, no, don't give it to her. And he pulls the phone. He's like, sorry, I can't take it. And I was like, okay. So then I gave them an unnecessarily large amount of money and they left. And I was like, this is the devil's greatest scam.
It feels like, honestly, it feels like a Bad Sopranos episode where they're like, Tony, maybe we should do something legitimate for once. And it's just them doing that and then like fucking people over anyway.
Yes.
Because I had like one experience where I called them briefly about removing a couch because I was in the same scenario where I was like, well, I can't put it by the dumpster. I would have to haul it to the dump myself, which I don't really want to do. So I just want to find out how much it would be. And this turned into days of calling like, hey, so thinking about giving her that couch? Come on. It would be a shame if you just had to hold on to that couch. Why don't you let us help you? Take that off your hands for you. And it was just like so aggressive in the sense of I got like multiple calls a day. And every time they're leaving another voicemail. And it's half the time it's the same guy. It's like, hey, this is Anthony. Hey, this is Tony. Hey, it's Stone again. And I'm like, stop. We're not buddies. Stop it.
They
away.
really get you in this like, hey, it's your old pal Tony here. Just want to call, see how you doing. How are the kids? By the way, that couch, what you doing with that?
I bet that's been weighing on your conscience. You know where it wouldn't weigh? A truck. Come on. Like,
oh my God. Have you ever gotten those calls from like car dealerships if you've like looked into a car or something and they start cold calling you? One time I got a voicemail and I swear to God, it started with, hey, neighbor. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah, I don't like that.
Hey, neighbor.
Yeah. So
Oh
it turns
my
out
God.
these business people, fairly ruthless.
Yeah. Anyway, so sorry. I don't have anything else to say about this movie.
Should we get to the facts?
We should.
I want the truth!
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
On IMDb, the movie is a 6.9 out of 10. On the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, it has a 93% with an average rating of 7.1 out of 10, 42 fresh reviews, and 3 rotten. The audience scores 72% with an average score of 3.7 out of 5. The budget was $13 million. It grossed $72 million. The critics' consensus? It's sometimes crude and tasteless, but Ruthless People wrings acid-soaked laughs out of its dark premise and gleefully misanthropic characters. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars. DeVito is the mainspring of Ruthless People, the engine of murderous intensity right at the center. His passion is so palpable that it adds weight to all the other performances in the movie. The next one, from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch by Joe Pollock.
Huh? What? Really?
Yes.
That's our grandfather's name, just FYI. I don't know.
The reviewer is not our grandfather, but it's the same name. There are both belly laughs and chuckles along the way, and comedy that shows the skill of writer, director, and actor all put together for optimum results. Kathleen Carroll from the New York Daily News. One tires of the movie's relentlessly shrill tone and its excessively raunchy jokes. Probably something someone has also said about my mother.
Yes.
Chris Beachman from Time Out. A pity that the directors prove less ruthless than their own creations, but there is more than enough here for people who enjoy murder attempts on cute pet poodles. Couple letterbox reviews.
Oh, this is what I've been waiting for.
From Jay Bird. Danny DeVito's so toothless, acting like he's so coothless. His wife gets nabbed, so he'll adapt. Wow, those people are ruthless.
I don't think that's funny.
It's haiku.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No, it's a limerick.
Yeah.
A haiku is like 5 syllables, 3 syllables, 5 syllables, or something like that.
You sound like you don't 100% know what you're talking about.
I'm way closer than you are with that unfounded confidence.
Why don't I take your opinion on the truck?
I can't give you the discount.
Sorry, no 10%. Matt Corinne, a constantly evolving crime comedy with an aces cast and hilarious one-liners. Bill Pullman is intensely stupid and might just be the secret MVP here. Lucy, Bette Midler saying I want to castrate him is a mood.
Yes.
And last one from Morgan, exercise propaganda.
Truly, though.
The movie was directed by Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker, who also directed Airplane, Top Secret, Hot Shots, The Naked Gun, and Rat Race.
Love it.
The
He's
screenplay is by Dale Launer, who also wrote Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Love Potion #9, and My Cousin Vinny.
So good.
It stars Bette Midler as Barbara Stone, who you may know from Hocus Pocus, The First Wives Club, and The Stepford Wives. Danny DeVito as Sam Stone, who you may know from Taxi, Matilda, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Judge Reinhold as Ken Kessler, who you may know from Beverly Hills Cop, The Santa Claus, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Nope.
You've definitely seen The Santa Claus.
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen the Tim Allen movie, The Santa Claus?
No.
I'm calling bullshit, Gab. I think we've watched The Santa Claus together growing up.
Dylan, I know the scene where he gets really fat, but that's it. I don't like Christmas movies.
You've never said. All right, whatever. We'll get past it. But
let me tell you my favorite Christmas movie. It's Your Dad's Dead. He's the Snowman. I've never seen that one either.
No, but that's a great movie. Your Dad's Dead. He's the Snowman.
Yeah, Dad's Dead. He's a snowman.
I've never seen it, but I love it. Helen Slater as Sandy Kessler, who you may know from Supergirl, The Secret of My Success, and The Legend of Billie Jean.
I was gonna say.
Anita Morris as Carol, who you may know from Martians Go Home or Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
I definitely don't know her from either.
I don't know her from either. And lastly, Bill Pullman as Earl, who you may know from Spaceballs and Independence Day.
Yeah, I recognize him from Spaceballs. Corey's never seen Spaceballs.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that a shame?
I think he's more recognizable from Independence Day, probably.
Not for me.
I feel like that's one of the most famous movie speeches ever.
Not for me.
Alrighty then. Fun facts. Bette Midler claims that Danny DeVito called her twice after the premiere of this film. Once to congratulate her, and a second time, 20 minutes later, during which he and Midler both broke down in a nervous frenzy over how terrible the movie was and how their careers were over. The film went on to become a box office smash.
What?
That's what Bette Midler says. I love the idea of them panicking like, oh no, it's going to be a diner.
Oh my God. That's insane. But it did well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Bill Pullman's first movie. Originally cast as Barbara Stone was Madonna.
Oh, no.
The role later went to Bette Midler because of artistic differences between Madonna and the director.
Thank God.
The theme song for the movie is done by Mick Jagger.
Great. We love it.
When Barbara turns on the TV for the wrestling segment, the voice of the announcers are Phil Hartman and Vince McMahon.
Of course.
Judge Reinhold at the premiere was asked the message of the film and said, get divorced before you turn to violence is the message?
Good one.
In a 1986 Hollywood Insider interview with Bette Midler, the host says, Bette plays a woman who is kidnapped, but she's so fat her husband doesn't want her back. The strange thing is, in real life, Midler is putting on weight, but then she's going to be a mother. Like, I'm like, what transition was this? They were talking about the fact that she was pregnant during the interview, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh boy.
Which, by the way,
Midler's child.
I don't know, but even in the movie, she talks about losing 20 pounds, and she mentions that she started at like 138 pounds. And I'm like, she was not this monstrously huge monster to begin with, that this movie described her as The husband doesn't want her back because she's so fat. I was like, what the fuck?
I didn't get that from that. I thought he didn't want her back because she was a pain in the ass. I actually thought it was funny that she was so obsessed with losing weight because she's not fat. Like, it's like she's so vain. Those women that are like, I'm fat. And it's like, no, you're fucking not. You're regular.
I absolutely think that's what it is that she's been more concerned with her self-image the entire time.
Yes.
And, Sam does tell her she looks great, but that is not one of the things he's complaining about at the beginning. He's complaining about the way she talks, the way she snores, the way she does everything, but she's never complaining about how she looks, which is what's crazy about. They had the video of the interview where the guy's like, "Beth plays a woman who's kidnapped, but she's so fat," and I'm like, Gab, I gotta tell you, my ears, like, I probably wasn't giving it my full attention, and immediately I was like, "What?" Like, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you're saying this to Bette Midler's face, bro?
That's crazy.
It's the transition of, and you're actually fat right now, but that's because of baby. Like, I was like, whoa.
Oh my God. That is too fucking funny.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't imagine that's what they would do now. That is the full extent of my fun facts, Cab. And we're going to make this episode just a little bit fatter because we have some mail.
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
A couple comments we have. First, on Breakdown, Scotty Cameron's... Poor Scotty. This is more on us, I think, than on him, because Breakdown was like a month ago now, and we skipped mail for an episode, and he put a time code 5327. Coincidence? I think not.
I just like to think that that's just his general state of being. He just doesn't believe in coincidences.
I like to think that if we were in that moment still and we knew that time code, hilarious, Scotty. You're so right. But I have no idea anymore.
No clue. It's fine.
And then there was a comment on our Cool Runnings in Other Countries video where somebody said, okay, but 4 Below Zero is a hard ass name. And 4 Below Zero does sound like a straight to DVD Steven Seagal movie, doesn't it?
What is it? A bargain bin Steven Seagal straight to DVD disaster?
That was very close, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm proud of that.
And then we also have some mail here. So we'll start with, this email comes from August 10th. That's how long it's been since we did mail.
Oh, boy.
From Legacy. Really curting my Russells. I haven't seen Breakdown, and I feel like most of my emails are going to start that way, but it sounds like a really good movie. It's a weird thing, but the Kurt Russell movie I've seen the most is that Netflix The Christmas Chronicles movie. It's become a December double feature alongside Violent Night and My Tribe. The unique Santas speak to me on a childish level, with either guitar or sledgehammer. Is it just me? He said with My Tribe, and I was like, oh, is he Jewish? I don't know why.
That's the tribe we know. We're familiar with.
It's because I was in an interview, and I don't remember how it came up, but the guy interviewed me went, are you a member of the tribe? And I was like, excuse me? I just think I wasn't expecting it.
That's a psychotic thing to ask in an interview. First of all, how did he know? How do you think he gathered?
Come on. Look at me.
Was it because you were just so charming and funny?
He saw me
jokes were so good.
No, he saw me trying to play basketball outside.
Yeah.
Okay, Legacy said, I probably could go get my birth certificate, but that's way more work than I want to put in. I just give you my social security number or something. I'm sure that would be the most responsible and totally not stupid way of proving my name is my name. My name is made for very nice brand consistency with my webcomic over the years, so that's a win. Till next time, Yalton Legally out. You could say the name of your webcomic. We would have said it gladly, Legacy.
Yeah, promote yourself.
What's the word I can never remember?
Promote?
For self-promotion. Plug, that's it. Plug yourself. Scotty Cameron, this email's from back on August 19th about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Hey, Dylan Gab, great show as always. So we finally had the Kyle Naranja Film Realist Trilogy at the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a movie to watch before you die. Fun movie. I do appreciate it. Does follow the Mirage comics. He read the comics in community college. The thing I liked about the TMNT Classics trades is they remastered the Mirage comics and added color so the Ninja Turtles would look familiar to someone like me who was introduced to the franchise through the TMNT cartoons. He was saying about the 1990 film remains the only good live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie made to date. TMNT and Transformers have that in common, having 1 or 2 live-action films and Michael Bay tarnishing their reputation as either a director or producer. Lastly, he had a point he wanted to make about Rotten Tomatoes, which changed how it presents the score details. When you click see more details, it takes you to the top critics first, and you have to click all critics tab next to it to see the full score details. It used to be the other way around. I have no clue why it was changed. Rotten Tomatoes is a weird website. You're getting this now because it was sitting in my drafts and I thought I sent it off earlier. My phone has a weird tendency to not send emails when I click send on my mobile device. I'm sending this on my laptop now. Sincerely, Scotty. And then it
Thank
shows
you,
how
Scotty.
much it changes. From top critics, it's only 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. From all critics, it's 42%.
Wow. Did you
Okay.
hear Sally screaming during that?
No, but we have a bunch of like street cats that hang out outside of our apartment building because somebody's like, oh, look at the cats. Let me leave out food for them, which
Yeah.
I get kind of, but also it's kind of disgusting that there's food everywhere. And now like we have the once in a while you go out at 1 a.m, you see a raccoon that's just like, how you doing? And I'm like, oh no, don't want that. But there,
Have you ever been chased by a raccoon?
no, I've been chased by a goose.
Interesting. Geese are so cute and I want them to love me so much, but they're not friendly.
They seem cute, Cap. They seem cute.
Yeah.
They're not.
Raccoons will chase you. I've been chased by one.
Allie used to work for a veterinarian, and there was one time where she brought over like a baby raccoon that apparently like was eventually going to be re-released into the wild. It was the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
She was
yeah.
so
They have
sweet.
little fingers.
She was opening up Giselle's jewelry jar. She looked like a little bandit. It was so cute.
Oh, a little bandit.
Oh, very cute. But
Oh.
I digress. We have an email from the film realist himself, Kyle Naranya. I would like to address the Canadian slander in the latest episode. Yes, Canadians do steal. Did you not hear about the robbery at Tim Hortons over the last blueberry donut that was back for a limited time only? Which, just throwing a bunch of Canada in there.
Yeah, honestly.
Jokes aside, I was curious, given how you both are from New York, what movie do you think best represents New York City? Kyle of the Film Realist. So
That's such a good question.
let me give you a second to think about it because I had time to see this earlier.
Okay.
So we had obviously discussed it. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the first movie that came to my mind, and I was like, that can't be the only thing. Then Giselle and I were talking about it, and Woody Allen movies came up in general, which there's a bunch of Woody Allen movies I feel like that would apply to very New York. Spider-Man was the other one she said, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which has a really good way of showing how mean New York is. And then whenever there's something serious, New York comes together in that you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I think that's what I'm going with, based mainly off of Giselle bringing it up. I was like, yeah, I think she's right.
You know what's funny though? I'll say this. I have never seen this movie before. So I feel like it's not right for me to say that this is the movie that I think of, but I'm going to be honest with you. I, for many years, was a student of one Chaz Palminteri. Are you familiar with him?
Bronx Tale, right?
Yeah. I've never seen it. And part of me was like, let me not watch this while I am a student of his because I don't want to be influenced by a way that I think he wants me to be. You know what I mean? And I just never got around to watching it. And I think there's like a little bit of like, that's part of my old life. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But I think that that might be the movie. Again, I don't know. I just feel like that is.
You might have no clue what even happens in the. So you're just imagining that. You're like, pretty sure that's really New York.
Yeah. The other thing that I did think of was the Into the Spider-Verse, because that felt very New York. I know it's like animated and, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think of like Spike Lee too, like Do the Right Thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are the very most New York movies that come to my mind. And then I was trying to think about, are there any like really Long Island movies?
Okay, let me give you some top ones that I think of. Definitely When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, Sleepless in Seattle ends at
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I guess so.
The Devil Wears Prada, set in New York. Now I'm just naming movies that are set in New York. I'm not really thinking about which ones are like the best. Oh my God, Big, West Side Story.
Big is definitely a good one. West Side Story is definitely a good one. I jokingly it said In the Heights, but I guess it does apply.
Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that movie being very New Yorky. Like,
Gatsby?
you know, Wall Street's in the name. Gatsby, honestly, that's pretty Long Island, I guess.
Yeah. Moonstruck, which a lot of these movies we've watched have been New York movies.
You know what other movie is pretty Long Island too? The Amityville Horror.
Oh, yes, very much so. Very much so.
I've mentioned that before on the podcast, right? That I live like 5 minutes away from the Amityville Horror House.
Yeah, which is just a regular house now.
They've changed it now, so it doesn't have the evil looking windows, and they just have a sign that's like, "Please stop recording our house."
Yeah, like please. Yeah, we've done a lot of movies set in New York. I think for me, the most New York movie that I have ever seen and love has got to be Annie Hall.
Yeah, then that goes back to the Woody Allen, like we said.
Yeah.
Woody Allen, I feel like, is like 60% of his movies are in New York, and then the rest are anywhere. You know what I mean? Like the future or
they're
medieval
abroad,
times.
right?
Yes.
Spain. Have you seen Annie Hall?
I have not.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Okay.
Oh my God, wait. I forgot. We were talking about other people's emails. Kyle, you've misled me. Okay. We have one more email here from Keen Machine who said, keep up the keen work. Greetings, Dylan and Gab. Wanted to pop in to say the recent episodes have been fun to listen to, and I do love a good Kyle appearance. Gab, Mark Aquino reminded us all to tell you you rule, so consider this test crossed off my to-do list.
So nice.
Also, per breakdown, I am always super paranoid whenever I have to drive anywhere, whenever I have to stop anywhere off the highway during a long drive. I trust no one on the road, and I absolutely refuse to go to any rest stops because I've seen way too many episodes of Criminal Minds where the body was found at a rest stop. My will to live may wane as Black Mirror continues to become a reality, but I certainly don't want my final resting place to be the detached restroom next to a dilapidated brick shack built in the 50s in the middle of nowhere. Looking forward to many more great movies. Thanks for being a keen fortnightly treat. Keep it keen, Keen Machine.
That was very sweet and also very funny.
Keen just has such a way with words.
He does. Are you a road trip kind of guy?
To an extent I am. Like, you know, we've gone to Boston many times, or, you know, Washington, D.C., stuff like that. But once you start getting into multi-day road trips, that's a lot of driving, and I don't know if I'm still into that much driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be too much driving to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't even like driving to the airport.
Is that why you now live somewhere you never have to drive?
Yes. I don't mind actually driving. Dana, my friend Dana lives in Albany. She just had a baby. And she just had a baby. He's like 3 months old now. But I need to go up there to see her and meet this baby, you know, her son, my nephew. And she lives in Albany. It's like a 4-hour drive or something. And I am legitimately going to fly there.
Are you serious?
It's a 40-minute flight.
By the way, it's like a 3-hour drive. And I make that, two of our best friends live in Schenectady, which it's 3.5 hours. We make that drive 10, 20 times a year.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to fly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How long is the flight?
It's like 33 minutes.
33. You're going to spend so much more time. It's going to still take you 4 hours with going to the airport, waiting at the airport, getting off the plane.
Nope.
I guess.
No.
You could just have Corey throw you there.
Yeah, but it would hurt.
You could just use your incredibly strong legs for the landing, Gav.
There we go.
I guess that would have been the ruthless way to do it. Huge transition, back into the episode, back to the verdicts.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death. It's my movie. I'm going to go first. I think the director, writer, and cast credentials speak for themselves as to the talent behind this film. I think you've probably never heard of this movie, person who is listening to this episode, but you should seek it out and watch it because I think it is hysterical. Like, I think every scene in this movie is really funny, multiple laugh out loud moments, and I think everything works character-wise. I 100% believe it's a movie to watch before you die. And I also sentence you guilty if you do not think that it is also a movie to watch before you die.
Okay, well, you don't have the power to do that. So.
I do. I'm judge, jury, and executioner.
Okay. Okay, so I want to start with the good. It is a breeze of a watch. It is a very funny, very easy. So oftentimes these movies that have a lot of like coinciding plot lines can be a little bit confusing if you're not like really giving it your full attention. And that's not to say that I didn't give this my full attention, but we talked a little bit about like the Fugitive being confusing a little bit, and like them having like a lot of details that maybe aren't necessary, and it's hard to keep up with all of the small details. This movie has none of that. It's very easy to follow. It's very silly. It gets you, in a really good headspace. I think it is a classic comedy of errors. It is so well done in that way. And I think that it is definitely worth a watch. Now, I'll go to the bad stuff.
No.
I have none. It was great. I loved it. I loved it. It was really great. I will say this. I watched this movie 2 weeks ago. Do I remember like the intricate details? Not really. I remember the basic stuff. I remember that I really loved it. It was very funny. It's not a movie that will stick with you. But I think in a lot of ways it works. This is maybe going to sound silly, but hear me out. Sometimes I feel like when I watch a movie and it is so like, holy shit, and it like really sticks with you, and you're like, every moment is like, oh my God, it makes you kind of not want to watch it again, because it's like, well, I don't need to. I like really, I watched it once, that was enough. But this movie is like, I'd like to watch it again because I think I would catch other things, or I think there would be lines that, came back. Like, I remember that I really liked it. I remember it was funny. I remember it had some really good moments, and I would enjoy giving it a second watch. And to me, that is one of the highest honors a movie can receive.
So you say?
I say, yes, it is definitely a movie to watch before you die.
Hell yeah. And it's one of those, I hadn't watched it in like 5 years, but it had been on my list since we made our list at the very beginning of movies that we would do at some point. And rewatching it, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly why this was on my list, because this was such a good time. And I remembered the good time I had, but I didn't remember all the specifics. The only thing I remembered was the bedtime killer. That's the only thing that had stuck with me.
That's funny.
And I will say, to go a few weeks back, it sort of makes me think of, I had just seen Deadpool and Wolverine, which I don't assume you saw because you're not big on the superhero movies.
Definitely didn't.
But it's 2.5 hours, and it's Ryan Reynolds doing his Ryan Reynolds shtick.
Can I just say, hate him?
Oh my God. Yes, we very much agree on that.
Okay, good.
I have a major issue with, I get that in comedy, not every joke is going to land, but it becomes a problem. It's like boxing. You get points for landing punches, but you also get deducted points for throwing a lot of punches that miss. And Deadpool and Wolverine felt like, to me, it threw 1,000 punches, and sure, 100 of them hit. And I was like smiling or giggling or whatever, but that's a lot of misses, man. And at some point I was like, okay, there's a lot of humor that's not working for me. So many of these jokes that they do in this movie hit for me.
There are points in boxing?
Yes, Gab. If somebody doesn't get knocked out, the judge is determined by points that they give at the end of each round.
Oh, I did not know that.
Damn it, Gab.
Sorry.
Oh, well. My analogy still makes sense.
Yeah, but I agree with you that this movie, they mostly land, if not all of them, most of them land. And I'll say this too. It very much feels like a, what's his name? David Zimmer.
David Zimmer.
The director who also did Airplane. Zucker, thank you. David Zucker. Why would I say Zimmer? David
the
Zucker.
Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams.
See, confusing. It feels like a Zucker film. If you've ever seen Airplane, or what's the other famous one that he did?
The Naked Gun is a good example.
The Naked Gun, thank you. It feels like that, where it's a little farcical, but not so much. Like, sometimes those movies now feel a little over the top.
It definitely doesn't lean as hard into the totally outrageous as those movies do.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it also aged very well. And not to say that it's like not offensive. Like, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, the humor is still relevant to audiences today, because it doesn't rely on concepts that are extremely dated.
It's relatable in the sense that you are empathizing with these kidnappers who are just down on their luck, and everyone's been down on their luck. And you're very easily able to not sympathize with Sam Stone, who's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Loved it. 10 out of 10.
Wow. I'm delighted.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for making me watch it.
You are welcome. Gab, let's say the things that we say at the end of this podcast then.
Dylan, I've already messed up. I was going to say, Dylan, if you are listening and you would like to write us a message, tell us how you feel about this movie or any of the others that we discuss, you can send an email to movies2watchbeforeyoudie@gmail.com. You can send a voice note to anchor.fm/movies2watch. You can send a carrier pigeon to me at my apartment, or you can send Dylan a basket of fruit. In the link tree below, you will see a link to our podcasting friends at the Hall of Pods Podcasting Network.
You're nailing it. Keep going. Keep going.
My Venmo, and you'll see a link to some things that you can buy from my shop. Dylan, I hope you have a wonderful night.
Wait, I can't just go past some things you can buy at my shop. Like we're in a video game, but you're like, got a lot of good things for you. Gab's clothing line, Strength Code Fitness.
Thank you.
We also now have a TikTok that is on there.
We do? Oh boy. I'm not on TikTok.
Okay, well, it's just the shorts that we make are now getting posted to TikTok too. I'm trying to be with the youths, the Gen Zs.
Yeah, good for you.
I hear that TikTok is bussin'.
TikTok is bussin'.
I'm trying to get us Mad Riz on the TikTok.
Okay, I hate this now.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for listening, and have a nice life.
If it's a firing squad, they miss all the major arteries. Bang! And you don't